So all these other crows land around the dead crow and they react to it in a very specific way. Elephants, when they find bones, they like lift them up and like seem to have some connection with them. So there's like a few animals besides humans who sort of react to death with some sense of realizing that this is sad, this is mournful, this is there's something in it that's poignant and but you know, man, we're like, we think, so we don't know. Death is the great unknown, big question mark. We have no fucking idea what it is. Some people think nothingness, absolute oblivion, you're gone forever.
I don't believe that.
Well, I think I don't either, but I think
it would be a fucking hilarious if it is the truth. But something that I've lived through as a 56-year-old man tells me there's something out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's people who look over us. There's angels. There's something.
For sure.
There's something. I just did the Danny Brown thing, and we talked about ghosts. And I know for a fact, and this is Joey talking to you as a man, the house I grew up in North Bergen, that house had ghosts in it, disgruntled ghosts.
Yeah.
Disgruntled ghosts that I had to move out of there. For 2 years, I went to school. I lived, that was my house, my mother, that was my family.
Yeah.
But I stayed at a friend's house. The whole 6th grade year and half the 7th grade year, I stayed at my house. I stayed away from the house. And then after my mother died was when I found out that a guy had killed himself in the garage. He did the whole, closed the garage and, you know.
Carbon monoxide.
And then when we were kids, we would walk around and there was woods. And on our block, there was a big brick wall.
Yeah.
And they told us that it was an orphanage. When we were growing up, it was, and then somebody about 7 years ago put something up on Facebook, the real story about the Givenad orphanage, and it was on Givenad Terrace in Charles Court, and it was an orphanage that burnt down, and a bunch of kids died in there.
Yeah.
So they just took those 2 blocks. One is a loop block, one of those blocks that you loop around.
Yeah.
And Givenad Terrace is a dead end. So they always said there were two bad luck blocks.
Yeah.
So while I lived there, my mother died. The kid 2 doors died from me. Died when we were growing up. Just something. The energy. Even when I go down there now, the house is for sale.
Whoa.
The house is for sale.
Your original house?
Yeah, where I grew up.
Oh, shit.
I just see. I still got it on my phone. The picture. House is for sale. They want $350. I thought about it for about 2 minutes. I know I'd have to sink $200 into it to modernize it to 2019. I thought about it, but then I thought about what lived in that house. What was really, really, really in that house. And I put a kibosh in it.
I heard this shit on Art Bell, the best explanation for ghosts ever, which was, it's actually not ghosts. It's time is happening at once. And so, like, in a place where some shitty thing happens, because, like, we perceive time as, like, being in the moment that we're in right now, but that suicide is, like, on repeat. It's happening over and over and over and over, and that's what a ghost is. A ghost is just, like, a kind of echo, a temporal echo that's sort of, like, trapped in this dimension and is bouncing around in there. It's, like, not so much an entity. Though, on the other hand, man, I've talked to many people who say, well, yeah, maybe, but there's fucking like a whole ecosystem, so to speak, of sentient, disembodied beings that are around us at all times. And you say that, you sound crazy, you know, but it wasn't that long ago that people didn't know there were germs. They didn't know there was bacteria. You know, they had no idea. They didn't know you should wash your hands. They didn't know there was, and if you started saying, oh, you know, there's like tiny little evil beings that are actively trying to kill you, that if you just wash your hands, you're not going to get sick as much. People would look at you like you're out of your fucking mind. What do you?
You know, Rogan's not as spiritual as we are. I don't think. I think Ari, you and I are very spiritual.
Yeah.
We're very aware of our surroundings. When I had Bobby Lee in here, we spoke about it. What did you feel at the store all those years? Not to harp on the Comedy Store guys. I just wanted you to hear it from the talent coordinator.
Sure.
We were talking about energies and entities before, and break down the energies and the ghosts that you felt at the store and your ghost sighting if you have one.
Sure, man. Yeah, sure. So it's like a thick energy. It's like you know how you can, like, for people, like, it seems crazy when you start talking about this shit, like clairvoyance, or like, what they used to call it, being sensitive, in the sense of, like, they wouldn't call it even psychic, they would call it sensitive. So the way to understand it, if you've never, like, felt a haunted place, though I think most people have, is just think of the difference between hot and cold. Or think like when you walk into, like, a super hot place, like when you walk into a spa, that feeling, you hit a wall of heat. It's like a very specific feeling. It's a dense energy in there. So, like, the next time you're in a very hot place like that, feel it. That energy, the shift, the way that it feels weird. It's a different feeling in there. The air feels different. It is different, I'm sure, because of the heat. So similarly, if you use that exact same sense when you go into certain places, every once in a while, it's like you walked into a fog, but there's nothing there. But you can feel it. It's dense. The energy's thick, coiled up. It's thick. So the Comedy Store is like that. It's the energy is, certain places have tendencies. That's a good way to put it. Just like certain people have tendencies, certain places have tendencies, repeating patterns. So one of the tendencies of the Comedy Store is it tends to create really great fucking comics. That's one of its tendencies. It gives birth, spits out these comedians every once in a while that, like, become very successful. And it has other tendencies too, right? And we know about the other tendencies that it has too. So the energy there is very powerful and real. And if you don't, the worst thing is to not know you're sensitive, to just think you're normal. Oh man, you are fucked if you go to that place, because it'll start fucking with you a little bit. And which is why all these, like, people who have a variety of mental illnesses would show up there throughout the years. It almost would draw them to it. But I'll tell you, man, two ghost experiences that I had there. One, we would have clairvoyants come in there every once in a while. Like once a year, a clairvoyant would come in and want to, like, try to communicate with the spirit of the place, because it's a legendary haunted place. And so this clairvoyant comes and they're like, can we just walk through the building? I just want to see if I can communicate with the spirits here. And so we're walking through the building, and they're doing the usual clairvoyant shit, which I'm pretty skeptical about, because it's like, if you name a certain number of names, you're going to hit something. So the name stuff that they do, I don't know. I don't usually pay attention to it, like, I'm sensing a William brothers, some kind of brothers. There was a thing. And also it's a researchable building. So it's like anything you say is not going to make me feel like it's proof of something if you're in a historic building. But that's the steps going up to the belly room.
Yes.
And there's like a sign at the bottom of the steps there. I think it's neon. It definitely has lights. I don't know what.
Inside or outside?
So out inside,
right.
You make the right turn. You go up those steps, and there's
a sign. There's a neon sign.
Right.
Okay.
So they go by that. She goes by that sign and stops. And starts being like, oh, that's when she's saying it's brothers. There's some kind of someone. There's something happened. She's like, dude, it's straight out of Poltergeist shit, and that was pretty weird, but pretty good act. And then that fucking sign, man, it starts going. Zzz, 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 zzz. It's reacting to her. I'd never seen that sign do that. That I saw it with my own fucking eyes. Now what that was, I have no idea, but it creeped me out. The other thing I saw there was really interesting. And I think, when people talk about the ghost of the Comedy Store, they're thinking like Casper, something with a sheet over its head, or some kind of, like, stereotypical ghost concept. But if you think about it more in terms of, like, there's an energetic form there that repeats itself, this will make more sense. And that's what the ghost is. But I was like, I was looking down the hallway at the belly room, and I was just watching some comics and some dumb fight, just fighting, you motherfucker. They were like I don't know the comics were. They were like someone in a belly room show, but they were in a pretty intense fight. And I was just watching it. I couldn't hear them. They left, right? And then within like 3 minutes in that very same spot, 2 different people got in the same fucking fight. Same movement, same like da 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 da. I'm sitting there watching like an echo of the same fucking thing I just saw with 2 different people. Now, assuming that this wasn't some conspiracy where some weird goddamn freakish improv on the spot people were trying to fuck with some solitary belly room comedian sitting on the couch, then that indicates to me that there was like a kind of eddy, like a ripple that was happening there, like a little fucking energetic ripple that people who weren't protected or who were a little too reactive when they were getting in it, they were acting like it and then, trying to make sense of it later. That's the thing. So many people just do shit and then they try to make sense of it later. Like they don't even know why they did it. They just do a thing and then later they try to make sense of it. That happens all over the planet. Like if you've been watching this Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix.
Not yet. A couple people hit me up on it.
Yeah.
I was
check it
just
out.
so close. Well, let's end one story. Where I saw whatever I saw at the store was at the top of the belly room. Mitzi was in her chair in the main room, and I didn't want to walk past her, so I stood by the door watching whoever was on stage, and I felt an energy over my right shoulder. And I kept focusing on the comic, but something was hitting my eyes. Something was making that light not blink, but like somebody was standing in front of it. And when I finally did decide to look up, it was like it was like Kennison. It looked like a Kennison type. Took his jacket, spun it like a cape, and walked into the belly room. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Whatever I felt. And I could feel his cold air, whatever. And that was it. That was my only ghostly experience at